Alright, what's up guys? We're back again and I figured what the hell, let's do another YouTube video where I appear late night in the tackle room, but a couple things to get started here. Just a yearly reminder of that video that I usually do where I go over all my rods and reels for the upcoming season. I will not be doing that video this year just because I just feel like I'm in the middle of upgrading a lot of stuff, and I just don't really feel like I'm ready to post it if it's not really complete. Like I have more rods and reels that don't really match up together the way I like. So once I get that figured out, I promise you I will have a review out or a video on that out. Um, as for that swim bait video that I've been promising you guys, that is still gonna happen, but all our lakes are locked up right now, so I don't really have any opportunities to film that. But as soon as I do, I can guarantee you, and I have some new baits that I'm going to be showcasing in that video. It's going to be a glide bait comparison. As for this video, we're going to be going over the Antares DC 2021. I said in the short that I did of the casting sound that if someone commented or whatever, I'd do a review on it. But that video did so much better than I was expecting it. I figured, what the hell, let's do a review anyway. So, just want to talk about this reel. This is probably one of the nicest reels I've ever owned. I worked so hard to be able to afford this. And if you guys are gonna get into high-end tackle, I mean, and you really want something, my advice to you is just to work up and save for it and get it. So, because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't afford it or whatever. Well, to be honest, I can't really afford it either, but I made myself work hard to be able to afford it, if that makes sense. But it's expensive, I will give it that, but in terms of performance, this thing is unbelievable. I mean, it has exceeded all my expectations for it. I thought it was going to be maybe a little bit better than the 2020 Metanium. But basically what Shimano did with this thing is they took that ultra-light MGL3 spool from the 2020 Metanium, slapped it in here, put the most advanced DC system in it, put it in Antares frame, so you just get that super smooth feel or whatever with those gears. I mean, this thing is, it makes my 2020 Metanium seem like rough in the gears. It's hard to explain, but this thing is so smooth, it's honestly kind of ridiculous. Like, you can't even feel anything in there. It's unbelievable. And if you guys have ever owned any, like, the 2019 Antares or this reel, or any, like, the recent Antares, you know what I'm talking about, because these things are ridiculously smooth. But with that, I mean, they kind of skimped out on the handle. The handle isn't really that special like we've seen them do in the past, like with the 2019 Antares. It's got a little bit nicer handle, but that's not really the end of the world. I'm probably going to end up upgrading it anyway. The drag star isn't really anything special, but everything else, I mean, this thing is unbelievable. I mean, I took this thing out with a rattle trap, and I was probably casting, estimate, probably about 20 to 30 feet farther than on my Corrado K, which I usually use for liplesses. And I was throwing a chatterbait on it just to mess around, because that's what I use my Metanium for. And I was probably getting an extra 10 to 15 feet of distance on it. Not much, but it does cast farther, which is pretty impressive, being that the 2020 Metanium is already an outstanding caster. But man, I mean, my advice to you is surf around. If you're trying to get one of these, surf around. Because if you're in the U.S. and you buy from Japan, a lot of times the shops will have different prices. It's not like here where everything has like a retail. So just surf around. I wouldn't really pay full retail for these. I paid just under $600 for this, and honestly, it's worth it, man. I mean, if you fish every day like I do and you want the best of the best, I mean, this is definitely, no doubt. The only knock on this thing is that it's a little bit heavy, so if you're trying to throw it on like an NRX or an NRX Plus or a Megabass Destroyer P5, it may not balance it out that well. I currently run it on a Loomis jig and worm rod. I'm definitely going to get a higher end G Loomis for it though, just to complement it a little bit better. But here's the inside of it. It's got a little latch underneath, like right there. It's not like the crowd DC where you can just twist the dial. There's a latch there like most other reels, like without DC brakes, and that's what you get on the inside. You get this dial right here. I believe this has 8 different settings, if I remember right. Then you also have 4 settings right here. Right there, you have 4 settings. You have an extreme distance mode, a nylon mode, which is your monofilament mode, a PE mode, which is your braid mode, and you have your fluoro mode. I currently have it on extreme distance mode just because I was testing it. But I usually keep it on fluoro, and I usually keep it like 3 or 4 clicks from the minimum, just because I tend to run my reels loose, and that'll get me through most, like ½ ounce, 3/8 ounce, 5/8 ounce, that type of stuff. Which, and you can drop down to a quarter, and you can still get decent performance out of it, which I like, because it has that really light spool in it. Really good free spool on it too. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm super impressed with this thing. I mean, honestly, it's probably one of the best reels they've ever made, in my opinion. I mean, I fish everything from the E series to the Corrado Eyes, the K's. I fished the Chronar. Sorry, the video just cut out. I mean, this phone, I mean, it's unbelievable. But anyway, yeah, I fished with all the Chronarchs, the Calcuttas, the Tranks, all the big bait stuff. I fished the 2016 Metanium. I fished the 2013 Metanium before, and I've also fished the latest 2020 Metanium. And honestly, this thing outcasts every one of them by at least 10 feet easily. It's super smooth, like I said. I mean, honestly, like I said, the only knock on it is that it's not the lightest reel, but you get insane casting distance out of it. I mean, if you really wanted to, you might be able to get 80 to 90 yards out if you were to put like a 1 ounce rattle trap on this thing. I mean, it is insane. The only reason I don't run it on a specialized lipless rod is because I prefer to run liplesses on as fast gear ratio as I can, and the highest this thing comes is like a 7.8 is the XG. But this is like my all-purpose reel. Like if I only bring one rod, one reel, this is the reel that I put on the rod. But yeah, as you can see, the line guide also, it's tapered. Like it's actually wider at the base, like right here, than it is in the front. So it's almost like what Daiwa did with the T-Wing, but not as drastic, if you know what I'm saying. They're trying to cut down the angles where you don't have these harsh angles to try and cut across the spool into the line guide. But yeah, I mean, I'm super impressed. I fished it really hard for the past 4 or 5 months, and it's crazy, guys. I'm telling you, if you're in the market for a high-end reel and you want the ultimate in casting performance and smoothness on the retrieve, I mean, look no further. This thing, I promise you, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you own one of these, you know what I'm talking about. But the thing I do like about it is if you guys fish like the 2018 Accents or the 2018 Antares Monster Drive, or any of like those other, like the 2016 Antares DC, I mean, they're really big. Like, they're big and they're wide. But this thing, it's still a little bit bigger than your average reel, but it's not nearly as big. It palms a lot better. You got this big, like, area right here for your thumb to palm it. It's really comfortable to fish with all day. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's an amazing caster. It's an unbelievably smooth reel. I mean, like I said, they put that light spool in it. You can drop down to like 1/4 ounce jigs. I've been using it a lot. It fishes fine with that. But where this thing excels, I think, is when you're trying to get like a decent sized bait, like maybe like a Senko, and you're trying to cast into the wind. I mean, this thing will outcast most other bait casters. Like if you don't want to drop down to a spinning rod, this thing will handle it. But yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Performance, it checks all the boxes. The only thing I haven't really tested yet is the long-term durability, but that's just going to take time. If something does go wrong with it, I will let you know. But for now, man, I mean, it's probably one of the best casting reels that I've ever owned, and if you're on the fence about it, I definitely get it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And like I said, I will be working on filming that swim bait video. I'm going to be comparing baits like the Clash, the Gancraft, the new bait Sanity baits that have come out. I'm be comparing a lot of different baits that weren't seen in my other video that I did a few years ago. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And thanks for watching.